Hello, you're very welcome to AFI Weekly here on the Under Centre podcast. Daragh here with you first of all, hoping to be joined by Alex in a few minutes. We have a huge show to get through this evening. We have 4 games to review and another 6 games to preview ahead of this weekend. So the league is well and truly underway. We are definitely in the meat and bones of the season at this juncture. We had 2 games in the Premier Division, 2 games in Division 1 last weekend. We'll get through all of them. We'll start with the game on Saturday in the Premier Division. That was the Belfast Trojans heading down to Cork to take on the Admirals. The Trojans come away with 13 points to 8 victory. The Admirals were in the lead for a long time. Just as I start speaking about that, I think Alex is here with me now. Alex?
Wow, how's it going?
Justin, you had me worried.
Apologies,
You had me worried.
bedtime
It's,
troubles.
it's okay. Show up that late on Saturday and we'll be fine. Don't worry about that. How are you, bud?
All good, man. All good.
Yeah,
Yeah, looking forward to a good weekend of football.
absolutely. We just were about to speak about the Premier Division game on Saturday. That was the Trojans against the Admirals. Trojans coming out on top, 13 points to 8. First of all, you were correct in your assumption that this is going to be a very close game. I think a lot of the other, let's say, quote unquote pundits, not include myself, who said it might be more a Trojan wider margin of victory. The Trojans did win it in the end. They had to fight for it. But, when you have the 2 previous games that the Trojans had, 40 points scored, huge victories, having these sort of tight games, especially earlier on in the seasons, are great character builders.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one that they had to slog out, but they got there in the end. So ultimately, they won't be too disheartened. I think it kind of went to the script the way I said. If the Cork could score early, they'd be able to run the clock, do some things to limit the possessions. I think I heard that the Trojans only had maybe 4 drives in the entire first half of the game. So like when you've only got 4 drives, you've only got so many opportunities to score. So that led to it being the being a closer game. Cork were able to keep it closer, and their defense played admirably as well. It must be said they've always had a yes, I didn't even notice that myself. Um, but yeah, like the Admirals' defense has always been solid. So I sort of thought they'd put it up to them all right. It is a long trip. I don't know. People have differing opinions on the travel of it all, but I mean, it's what 5 hours in a bus down there. It is a slog. You're starting early, so I wasn't surprised to see the results. But look,
I think was
Belfast will
it
be.
they, if it's the way Cork do it, because I remember running into the lads from the Admirals when they were heading up to Belfast to play the Trojans, that they went to Dublin, stopped in Dublin for an hour, and then went up straight up to Belfast after that. So that could be
Yeah,
that's the same route that the Belfast guys are going to make as well. So yeah, tough. You're talking about what, an hour and a half to get to Dublin, and then another 3 hours to get to Cork after that, and then I'm guessing at least one stop in between.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, look, they got out of there with a win. When you've got to make that trip down to Cork, nobody ever goes to Cork thinking they're going to pick up an easy victory. And that's our proved. But Belfast will be happy enough with the victory and won't mind that this one didn't come by 40 points because they've had wins of that magnitude already. So I'll not be too worried about the points difference at this stage of the season. It's
No, absolutely not. It's all about getting wins on the board at this stage, and just scoring wise, we didn't get a chance to say at the start. Dom Lynn had a rushing touchdown with Oren Wilson with the PAT. Then James Lynn had a receiving touchdown to seal the victory in the fourth quarter for the team. On the Cork side of things, it was a Jay Kennedy quarterback keeper rushing touchdown. that got them. I'm not too sure who got the 2 point. I know it was a passing score. Seeing the tape, I couldn't give you a number, unfortunately. If anyone's in the chat that can say it, let us know. On the Cork side, that's 2 games now against Belfast teams. They put up a combined 12 points in those 2 games. A tough start, obviously, to the season against two. You're going to say definitely for the Trojans, and now with how Belfast have started, 2 teams you're vying with for playoff. Lose both of those games, especially now have tiebreaker losses in those games, is a tough situation to be in. How concerned are you 2 games in with the lack of points on the board for Cork?
Yeah, the lack of offensive output is definitely a worry. I don't know, is it a case of they're sort of asking Jake to maybe do too much? Like, he's still a young quarterback in this league, and it does seem to be that anything they have is coming through his legs more than his arm, really, at this point in the season. They said it was a quarterback keeper that got them the score there. They didn't put up many yards in Belfast when they had to go up there to face the Knights. But they did get, a couple of things moving. Yeah, you'd be a little bit concerned, definitely, and it doesn't get any easier for them. I think in 2 weeks' time they're hosting UCD. So that's not going to be a game where you can let your offense are going to break loose and put up a ton of points. So that is definitely got to be their focus. Their defense seems to be humming well, which you'd expect under Brendan. Brendan Callagher, the head coach, of course. You'd expect that defense to be solid. But yeah, maybe need to do a bit of tinkering with the offense to sort of remedy the inefficiencies they've had on that side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Before we move on, is there anything else you want to add on the Trojan side or the Cork side?
No, I think we covered it pretty well there.
I think you did a good enough job on that. I'm just asking the questions, Alex. It's all your opinions now on this.
Okay.
Yeah. So next up for the Admirals, like you mentioned, is that home game against UCD this coming Sunday. So it doesn't get any easier for the lads in Cork. On the Trojan side of things, they actually have their first home game, I believe, next. I'm just trying to get the fixtures up here. Yeah, the Saturday, the 3rd of May, I believe, and it's going to be against the Belfast Knights. So, Belfast Derby on the way. Game to look forward to for sure. If you are up in Belfast on that Saturday, be sure to head down. Bank holiday weekend as well, so good time to have that fixture for sure. Moving on then to, do you want to do the other game on Saturday, or do you want to stay in the Premier Division?
Dealer's choice, Daragh. Don't mind too much.
Dealer's choice. Just because I have the details here in front of me, we'll stick with the Premier Division. The Dublin Rebels got back to winning ways, beating the South Dublin Panthers 42-12 in a very one-sided victory. For the Rebels, I have their stats here. There was a rushing touchdown for Pete McMahon, Andre Barlafa, and Sam Doran. Sam Doran also threw 3 touchdowns, 2 to Jason. Is it Colathingus? I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I got it wrong. And 1 to Jack Cronin. Jack also had 2 PAC kicks. Pete McMahon had 1 2-point conversion, and Sam Doran also had a 2-point conversion. On the Panther side of things, it was a tough day. Despite getting 2 interceptions in the first half, they couldn't turn them into scoring. They had a blocked field goal. Let's see here. Luke Carey had a rushing touchdown, and Lorenzo. I had the name here. Sorry about this. See how prepared I am today. Sorry about this, boys. Lorenzo Bogney also had the receiving touchdown for the Panthers in the third quarter, I believe it was as well. Very nice catch too. Yeah. So for the Rebels, first of all, really good to get points on the board, to get the ball moving again, to have the defense, only concede the 2 scores and then play quite well. I guess after that tough first game and having to wait so long till the second game, I guess it's probably best case scenario here for the Rebels.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they will have been waiting on this one with bated breath. A Dublin Derby after losing the opener and putting up a goose egg, they will have been raring to right all the wrongs, I suppose, of the week one game. So it's not a surprise to see them come out firing. And I think it's also a positive thing to see that they're like it's the demise of the Dublin Rebels was greatly exaggerated. As we've said multiple times, we all overreact to the early season games. And we sort of we certainly didn't paint their season out or anything like that, but they had plenty to prove to us and probably to themselves as well. And I think with that output on Sunday, they unquestionably answered any of the questions and the doubters that were bringing up any questions about them.
I think I distinctly remember you saying that they were going to get relegated after week one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you had your bet in there for that already. What's your thoughts on the throwback 30-year anniversary jerseys that they're doing, going with the black and silver?
Yeah, I like them. I think they're clean. I love an anniversary jersey. As of course Mavs did one a few years ago that we're still wearing. For our 10th season, we're still wearing it several seasons later. But you got to get bang for your buck. I think they look pretty clean, and I have to say the promotion video that they put out was superb. It was
Yeah.
excellent. That reveal was quality. Getting that real vintage footage, that was really cool. And love to see that. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah. If I'm being a little nitpicky, there's only one aspect that I didn't like, and it's just the font they use for the numbers. It's the only thing.
That's it.
That's it can't. Nothing can be perfect, Alex. There has to be always something wrong with one thing wrong with it.
Fair critique.
Unlike
Look,
the Mavs.
at least the performance on the field lived up to the hype of the jerseys. That's an important thing as well, because going out there and putting up a goose egg in your new jersey is not something you want to do.
No. Are you trying to take a shot there?
No.
You trying to take a shot?
Not at all. Not at all. We're debuting New Jersey. Maybe it'll happen to us. We're debuting New Jerseys on Saturday.
Right. On the Panthers side of things, kind of goes a little bad to worse for them. Their QB Connor Murphy actually went out during the game with an injury. Other reported injuries I cannot confirm, but I heard that running back / turned into quarterback Connor Hoskins during that game also had to leave at 1.2. So hopefully the lads are healthy and there's nothing too serious. They'll be back in a few weeks. But yeah, it's getting into, if it's not already Alex, rudderless ship territory here with the club. I don't want to kick teams while they're down, and especially in this country and in the league that we have, we don't want to see teams struggling. We don't want to see, teams going under or anything like that, because we need more teams. We don't want to be losing any to grow the league. But it's from looking at it from the outside, it's emergency stations right now, and whoever is at a board level in that club has got to just try and find a head coach, try and find something just to get through this season.
Yeah. No, look, I think rudderless ship might be a little bit harsh. They did at least put up 2 scores, so that's definitely a positive. Look, it's an improvement on 0. They put up a touchdown against Belfast. You want to see those sort of gradual improvements and at least signs of like they're not getting hammered to nil every week. Their 2 losses, they've put up scores, and their other result was a 0-0 draw, obviously, as we remember. So look, there's things to build on there, and you'd like to hope that there's glimmers of positivity within the camp there. It is very difficult to, like, their bodies are they're losing bodies. It seems every week they've got an injury that they play. Every week they play, they've got someone going down or someone key going down. So, and with their limited numbers, you do worry about that and the sort of
Mhm.
lasting capacity for the season. But look, I think they've still got big games to come. They've still got a game against the Cowboys in a couple of weeks' time that's going to be pivotal for their season. Yeah, look, they just got to stick together. They got to keep going out there, and because I think once the first big hit gets taken, if you end up getting absolutely demolished, or losing to nil, or even a game having to be called early, I think it's difficult to climb back from that. They're not at that point yet. They're still hanging in there. They're playing out the games. They're putting up some scores. So you just gotta for them, they gotta keep going, keep at it, and hope that the things will start to improve as the season goes on. Get a bit more familiarity between them all, a bit more of that the offense gets clicking and they're able to score earlier in games, and maybe give themselves the chance of getting a win and avoiding relegation.
Mhm. And look, that is the big thing, is just avoiding relegation, and that draw against UL could be pivotal. It's like you mentioned, the game against the Cowboys, and now it's going to be the game between the Cowboys and the Vikings is going to be vital as well. In that, like with the Vipers, their doubleheader this year, I believe, is against the Trojans. So they have to go back. They're going to have to go up to Belfast to play them, and they still have to face UCD. Still have to face the Knights. Tough fixtures ahead. Their next game actually is the weekend of the 4th of May, which is at home to the Admirals. So, the Admirals actually could be pointless and below them going into that fixture as well, if they don't beat UCD this coming week. So, you know, it. I know. I want to be positive on the Vipers. I do. I don't know. I just think
Panthers,
yeah. There's a little. There's just I don't know. It feels like there's something going on there, and I don't like it. I don't like the vibes, as the kids say. I don't like the
yeah.
vibes that I'm getting right now
That's
from
fair enough.
it. But look, listen, I could be exaggerating over nothing. They go out now in a couple of weeks against the Admirals, put on a good performance, win that game, at home, um, and then we won't have to worry about them. They have a good lot of time now. I think it's 3 weeks until that game, so a good bit of time now just to get into training, get working on some stuff, heal the bodies as well, which is going to be so important. Um, and hopefully we can, you know, hopefully we can see something positive. I don't want to be too negative. I'm trying to take a leaf out of your book, Alex. I'm just trying to be very positive when it comes to these sort of things.
Mhm.
But on the Rebels side, they play this weekend. We'll look ahead to it with their game against the Cowboys in De La Salle. That game's going to be on Saturday, but we'll look ahead to that too. Moving on then to Division 1. We'll go back to Saturday, and it'll be the game between the Kildare Crusaders and the Westmeath Minotaurs. Minotaurs coming out 34 points to 18, in a performance that they'll be very happy with. The Crusaders will feel that 2 early fumbles in the first quarter, which led to scores for the Minotaurs, was a crucial point in the game, even though it was so early. Being behind against a team like the Minotaurs and having to chase the game is really, really tough. Um, on the Minotaur side, like I said, they go 3-0. They're very happy with how obviously they're playing at the moment. All their wide receivers were getting involved. Rafa was getting involved in the running game. The defense caused turnovers. I wanted to give some love back to Mark Hughes again, because he did have an interception and he almost actually ran back for a touchdown on Saturday, but it was called back. I think it was a roughing the passer call or something, so the refs had to overturn it. So the interception did not count. So I'm sorry about that, Mark. On the Crusader side of things, you know, it, 18 points is, good. 3 touchdowns they scored. They didn't get any extra points. They had a blocked field goal as well. Should say on the scoring side of things, it was Wello with a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown, and then it was Nathan Purcell with first of all, he caught it, fumbled it at the 1, rolled into the end zone, and he picked up the fumble in the end zone to have a touchdown. So unfortunately, he's taken a passing touchdown away from Jordan Farrell, but he still scored a touchdown. On the Minotaur side of things, I did mention there that Rafa was on the scoreboard with a rushing touchdown. Also, Sean McCormick, 2. Jack Walsh, Sean Dalton, and Chris Gilbert all had receiving touchdowns as well. And Jay Bruton had 4 out of 5 extra points too. So a 5 touchdown game for them, and they'll be very happy with how their season has started. But Alex, your point of view, I don't know if you had a chance to watch the tape yet or not. But your point of view on the outcome of the game and what you're thinking from both sides.
Yeah, haven't actually had a chance to break it down yet, but as you said, for the Crusaders, those 2 fumbles, like you nailed it there, those 2 fumbles that kind of put you behind the 8 ball. It's difficult to come back against a side like the Minotaurs. If we were looking at another side that doesn't, you're playing another side that doesn't score, put up as big scores, you can come back from that deficit. And certainly the Crusaders would be able to come back from that deficit. We know they're able to put up points. And again, that wasn't an issue for them in this game. But the Minotaurs have also shown that they are very able to put up points. They've put up, they've gone plus 25 points in all 3 of their games so far. They've got a great points difference building there, and they are really able to pass the ball like all over the yard. How many touchdowns do they passing touchdowns do they have? I think they have 5 in against yourselves, and
They
then
had 5.
3 in the 2 previous weeks. It must be something like 11
Yeah, I'll
passing
go to my
touchdowns.
trusty stat board that I have
There
here.
you go.
So it was 5 against the Rhinos. It was 3 this week, but all their touchdowns in the second game against the Eagles were all rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're able to score multiple ways. Defensively, on offense, they're doing it all at the minute. So when, as you said, when you give the ball to them easily, they're gonna punch it in. They're well able to convert turnovers into scores for themselves. And the Crusaders, we've kind of spoken about before, they are a team that are liable to turn the ball over because they're so willing to, take shots and force the ball down the field. But it is that kind of live by the sword, die by the sword mantra that they kind of have there in Kildare. Look, they're 2-1. I think they'll be happy enough with how the season has started for them. The Minotaurs are a tough team with that SBC experience. That I think that just saw them through at the end of the day. They'll be pretty happy with how their season's going. The Minotaurs, they've played some good sides so far, playoff sides or definite playoff hopefuls, all of them, and they're 3-0, sitting pretty at the top of the table. So they'll be very pleased with their start of the season. Crusaders won't be too disheartened. They'll pick themselves up and rebuild and be ready to go again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was not so much this game, but the other game we'll get to in a little bit, which kind of makes, for me, Kildare an even more sort of perplexing side, if you know what I mean. When we talked about it last week, I wasn't really sure where they are. I'm still not really sure where they are after this game. You don't want to compare a team's performance in one game and the next game and then say, well, this team is worse because they didn't beat this team by this. When you get into these sort of things, you get very into very muddled waters, and it just doesn't work. But what I did get the sense from just watching the game, obviously you have Wello there, and good running back, great running back. Has showed at the weekend as well with some really, really good runs. It feels to me though that the connection isn't quite there yet with the receivers and Jordan Farrell. I feel there was a few where the routes were overrun. There was a few where it was underthrown. There was a few where it was thrown behind instead of or too far in front. Seems though it just hasn't gotten that chemistry. And with the likes of Sydney Pindy gone, who was one of his favorite receivers, he's having to build that up now with the likes of James Ahern, who I think he was telling me it's only his first full season now with the team. He came in halfway through last year. I mentioned Nathan Purcell. There's Ben Costello, who's there last year. He's there this year. I think he's one of the only ones that has been there since that has that previous sort of with Jordan. Who's the other one? Is it TJ Cuthbert Dwayne? I think that's his name. He could have been there before, but it's the first time I'm really seeing his name pop up on stat sheets and stuff like that. So for me, I just think there's just, and that's going to come as the season obviously progresses. But it's just that chemistry is just not there yet with the wide receivers.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. It's brother, of course. Was it Kalen? Used to be a wide receiver there from it, and had a strong connection with him, obviously. So you've lost probably two of your biggest targets from the previous 2 seasons or so, 2 or 3 seasons. That it's going to take time to build sort of that rapport with other receivers. That's not really a huge surprise. But yeah, look, for where they are, having lost those guys and being 2-1 at this point of the season, having played the sides they've played, I think they'll be happy enough. With where they are, the big test will come. We'll talk about it slightly later. The big test is this weekend when they're playing the Eagles. That's probably a side they're vying with for one of those playoff spots, and a win for either side there will be really crucial to where they end up. If they end up in the playoffs, or if they end up in the playoffs instead, it's going to be a key one, I think.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, both teams actually are back in action this weekend. Like you mentioned, the Kildare Crusaders are heading down to Gorey to take on the Wexford Eagles, and then the Westmeath Minotaurs are heading up north. They're going to be taking on the Causeway Giants on Sunday as well. Moving on to the other game that was on Sunday, big win for the Northwest Vipers. They are now 2 from 3, 34 points to 8 against the Antrim Stags. Scoring wise, 4 rushing touchdowns from Christian Grobler, with a pick 6 as well from Josh Reed, 2-point conversions from Dan Danowski and Chris McCaffrey. On the Stag side of things, Jordan Foster had a receiving touchdown from Scott McLean, who also himself converted the 2-point conversion for the Stags. Alex, huge victory for the Vipers. What a difference a week makes. Last week, the wind, the rain, everything no one could move the ball in that game. Last Sunday, lovely sunny weather. I think it's just a Rhinos thing.
Could be, but I do think, you can understand how much of a factor the weather has played as well in some of these games. I mean, that must be one of the highest scoring games that the Vipers have had in a good few years, I'd imagine. Because they're traditionally
on the positive side.
Absolutely. Because traditionally they're a sort of lower scoring team that kind of they take you down to their level, play their type of football, and they want to get in a bit of a rock fight. Which look, it's a perfectly valid way to play football, especially if you can win. But this will have felt so satisfying for those lads, I'm sure, on offense. To get those connections in the passing game, be able to run the ball well as well. They'll be really delighted with their Sunday of output, and it really puts them in a great position. They're now 2-1 as well, and they can certainly start looking at the rest of their fixture list and sort of eyeing up games for potential big playoff matchups. For the Stag side of things, yeah, they're probably disappointed with their offensive output, only getting the one touchdown, having put up a reasonably good day against the Crusaders, albeit in a loss in their first game. They would have wanted to keep that rolling and try and keep up with the Vipers and at least make it close, if not be able to try and nick one. So they'll be disheartened enough. But as we said, this season's all about building, and on the platform they're on at the minute compared to where the respective teams of the Jets and Razorbacks were last year, I think they can be happy enough with what they've done so far this season. And yeah, look, it'll be on them to keep it going for the rest of the season. But it seems to be a much more positive, much more positive outlook on their chances, I think, for the future than it was for the two teams that came in to eventually form this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's the thing. It takes time for the teams to develop, and we weren't expecting the Stags to be a perennial, powerhouse team in Division One straight off the bat. It's going to take time. It is two teams coming together. Yes, these guys have football experience, you could say, but it's not that they're just going to come in and everything's going to go together. There's probably new schemes. There's probably coaches coming from two other sides as well, trying to have a balanced scheme put in place both offensively and defensively, and it's just going to take a bit of time. And it will come together. I'm sure. I'm sure, and I hope. I hope that the right people are in charge there. That it's going to make the team grow. And look, and I hope the guys that are there now understand that this can only be this should only be looked at as a temporary thing. That look, we get through this season. A few lads that I've talked to have said like the words that look, listen, the aim is to play every game. And look, while admirable saying the aim is to play every game, you also want to make sure that you are competing in these games. And I think maybe towards the end of that game, it got a little out of hand. I think maybe a few heads dropped. And that's where the coaching's going to have to come in here, and it's going to have to get these lads back in the right mindset and be ready for their next game, which is going to be next week because they travel down to Dublin to take on the Rhinos. So that's going to be a tough game. Speaking from experience, only from speaking from my point of view, it's going to be a tough game. But yeah, we'll see how this Saturday goes first. Before we move on, have got anything else to add before we move on?
I think our play of the week came from this game, didn't it?
It did. It'll be released tomorrow, but yeah,
Tomorrow.
it will
Okay,
be.
so there you go. A little bit of a sneak peek. Dara definitely
Little
didn't want me
teaser.
to say that.
Little teaser. Before we go on, not before we go, before we start previewing the games, let's have a quick look at the latest league tables, will we?
Absolutely.
Let me just get them here for you. Now, is it working for me? No, it's not. Alex, fill some time while I get this working.
You know what, my daughter said I'm actually my show is the show is too boring that I'm on.
Is
So
it?
she did actually tell me to dance. Now she's only 3, but she did tell me to do a little dance.
Yeah.
So maybe this part I'll just fill with a bit of dance and I can show her later. I'll be like, look, see, Daddy does interesting things on the podcast. So that's a
Brilliant.
perfect filler.
That's about, and I just have it here now. Let's see if we got it. Yes, we have it here. There we go. There's the latest Premier League table on ucp.ie. Of course, the website that is brought to you by our sponsors this season. That is Rain Rocks Web Design. They don't make it easy for me to say their name. I'm really sorry for the lads. But they were the lads behind this website, and we're delighted to have them on board. We're delighted with the work that they've done. And as you see at the moment, the Belfast Trojans are leading the way with 3 wins from 3 on 6 points. UCD second. They obviously are going to be playing this weekend, so they'll hope to make it 3 from 3 on 4. The Knights and the Rebels take up the last 2 playoff spots. And then you're looking at the Craigavon Cowboys with their 1 win this year. And then the Knights and the Panthers, of course, in 6th and 7th because of their drawn game. And unfortunately, at the moment, the Admirals Admirals, I should say, are in 8th spot with 2 losses from 2 games. We'll go to Division 1 and have a quick look here. Top of the table, the Westmeath Minotaurs, 3 wins from 3. Perfect start to the season for them in life, back in Division 1. The Northwest Vipers propping up 2nd spot here with 2 wins from their 3 games. The Kildare Crusaders slightly behind them, also 2 wins and a loss on their record too. A certain Mavs team are currently taking up the last playoff position in 4th with the 1 win just from 1 game played. I think you're the only team in the country that's only played 1 game so far.
I think we played 4 games in May, so
yeah. Plenty of
we'll make
opportunity
it
to
up.
go and see.
Yeah.
We'll make it up for sure. The Rhinos are in 5th at the moment, 1 win and 1 loss. And then the next 3, the Giants, Stags, and the Eagles, are yet to register a win this season. Again, I should mention this season, we are delighted to be sponsored by Rain Rocks Web Design. Go to for all your web design needs. They are the ones that got UCP.ie off the ground, and we're really extremely thankful for their help. And we are delighted that we're able to bring you this league table. It also has a fixtures, results, everything that you need on the website. So head to ucp.ie for all the AFI needs that you will need. I said need twice because I obviously am an idiot. Moving on to this weekend's games, we will start in the Premier Division. We'll go through all the Premier Division games first. Starting on Saturday, the Dublin Rebels, fresh off their win against the South Dublin Panthers, are facing the Craigavon Cowboys, who make the trip down south following their loss against the Trojans last week. A interesting matchup ahead. The Cowboys, like I said, are kind of struggling at the moment on offense, and it won't get any easier against this Rebels defense. The Rebels, obviously, after scoring 42 points this past weekend, will look to continue the scoring this Saturday, and will hope to, of course, also try and cement those playoff spots too. Alex, what are your thoughts ahead of this game? Myself, personally, I'm thinking there's only 1 winner in this, but help me make a case for the Cowboys.
Yeah, look, I mean, the Rebels are still very experienced, despite the couple of losses that they've had in terms of personnel. So yeah, we did expect that sort of bounce back, and now I suppose the onus is on them to see can they keep the train rolling, or prove that it wasn't just a 1 week bounce back, a dead cat bounce, so to speak. On the Cowboy side of things, yeah, difficult for them on offensively so far. I mean, we've talked about the players that they've lost themselves, so it's not as if they're coming in, with less lost players than the Rebels. That might be the only place. They beat the Rebels on the weekend in the more players missing category. But look,
it's a weird flex to have for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely not the sort of W you want to be taking home. Look, as we've said many times, on any given Sunday or Saturday in this league, as it happens often this year, anyone can beat anyone. I think the Cowboys will need some more from their rushing game. Their rushing game has been non-existent really, even in that win against UL, bar Owen Hughes taking a few QB sneaks or QB runs for a couple of yards. They didn't have much going. I think they only had something like 9 yards against the Trojans. So that's something that they really have to unlock, because without that, it's very difficult to make anything happen in your passing game. They've sort of been hammering Neil Maxwell with targets as well. He got 12 targets against the Trojans. So when you are that one-dimensional, it just becomes easy for a defense like the Rebels, who are an experienced and really good defense. It becomes easy for them to sort of key in on that one target, shut them down, and then it makes it next to impossible to get anything else going if they're shutting the one thing that you've sort of had working for you this year. So yeah, can they open up the run game, and if they can, that will allow them to do a lot more on the pitch.
Hmm. On the Rebel side of things, I guess it's continue where you left off. The offense played very well. Santorum looked a lot more comfortable at QB as well. Despite a few early hiccups with a few early turnovers, he calmed down and was a threat in the running game as well as the passing game.
Yeah, their running game seemed to be great on Sunday gone there. So like they've got some good backs there. Pete McMahon and Andre Barlafa. They're great at running the football. And again, as I literally have just said, their running game allows them to be so active in the passing game, opens up a lot more things for them to do there. And another thing to point as well is that the Rebels special teams is really on point. It's up there, one of the best units in the country. I know they take a lot of pride in their special teams work, so they get a lot of return yardage and set themselves up in great field position. So I hope Scott Buchanan has his boys on special teams ready to go, because I know it'll be a real duel between him and Andre Barlafa, who's the special teams coordinator of the Rebels. That'll be an interesting battle and could determine the result as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, prediction then for this, Alex, who are you going for?
I think the Rebels will win this one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. I think the Rebels will. I think it might be at least a 2-score victory, I think, for the Rebels in this game. For that. Moving on then to the game in Cork on Sunday. That is the Cork Admirals taking on UCD. UCD have had, I should say, a couple of weeks off, and they make the trip down to Cork. Cork need wins because the more losses that they're taking, that those playoffs look further and further away. And it's not going to get, like we mentioned, it's not getting any easier against the defending champions. And I personally, I'm finding it tough to see where the wins are going to come from, especially against a UCD team that has scored freely in their first 2 games and has already pitched 1 shutout, and against an Admirals team that at the moment is struggling offensively. It doesn't make for a good cocktail for the Admirals that they're gonna like to drink at the end of this game.
Yeah, look, it's a tough one, but they've just played an incredibly tough game against the Trojans and come out just on the wrong side of it as well. While there were certainly some positives to take from that game and certainly some things that they will try and use against UCD, they're not set up in the best position, having played that tough game, and then you're welcoming down UCD, who've had 5 weeks is it off to sort of for everyone to get fully fit. I'm sure they probably were fully fit anyway, but anyone even had any sort of a niggle from those first 2 games that you'd think would be properly healed, they'll have had all the film to watch on Cork against the Knights and the Trojans, and whereas Cork will have probably, you would think, predominantly had all their focus on this Trojans game, only have a week to sort of prepare and game plan for UCD, whereas UCD have had 4 weeks just looking at the Cork game and Cork film to sort of break it down. It is difficult to see a Cork victory on this one, but Cork are able, like they are one of those sides we said, you're never going to go down to Cork. I literally said it earlier, you're never going to go down to Cork and get an easy game. So I do think Cork have it within them to put it up to UCD. And again, if they nick an early score and can run that clock and sort of drag the game down and really just speed it, get it going, get that clock ticking quickly, there is a formula for a victory there. They almost pulled it off on Sunday, but against this UCD team, I don't know how successful that's going to be. I don't think they're and not to say that the Trojans are totally one-dimensional or anything, but the UCD can do it all. They can pass, they can run, they can mix it up and throw in trick plays and everything to get a score, whereas the Trojans seem to be more just run game heavy this season. So it's even harder to limit an offense when there's so many facets that you have to account for. Like there's so many
Mhm.
weapons on that offensive UCD that Cork are going to have to try and account for. It does make it very difficult to see a Cork victory.
Yeah, and look, and I know that I've been speaking about the struggles of the Cork offense, but the defense is definitely has been a standout for them this year. They've, conceded 11 and 13 points in both games. So if they are going to win this game, it's going to have to be on the defense's back, I'd assume, and the offense are going to have to take the chances when they get them. If they do, for UCD side of things, like I said, yeah, it's about how you've come out of this extended break now. How has training been? Has bodies that maybe have been hurt or not been able to go the first 2 weeks, now are they back? And um, I'm sure I have no doubt that Coach Farrell has been absolutely making sure that these lads are going to be ready, because it was not last year. I don't think it was last year. It was definitely the year before they went down to Cork and they were surprised and they got punched in the mouth and lost that game where we didn't think they were going to lose that game. So making sure that doesn't happen again is going to be paramount for them. But Alex, prediction: who have you got in this game?
Yeah, UCD win here.
Yeah, I'm going to say UCD win this game too as well. I think it's tough on the Admirals, their first three fixtures. It will get easier obviously now when these ones are done, that they'll be able to obviously right the ship a little bit. But I wouldn't exactly be. Whereas I said that the Panthers are 0-1 and 2, where I'm panicking about them. If the Admirals do go to 0-3 in this game, I'm not panicking. I'm not sending out the state of emergency when it comes to this. I know it's been a tough start for them, and I know that they will get it right. Um, the last game in the Premier Division on this week is the Knights hosting the UL Vikings. Vikings going back up north after playing the Cowboys a couple of weeks ago, and they came off their 0-0 draw against the Panthers. The Knights are coming off their 11-4 victory against 11-4 victory against the Admirals a few weeks ago. I'm still not sure if Liam Moores is back for this game. I'm going to assume that he's not. So it will be Zach McDowell continuing in at quarterback. His connection with Dottie McShane has been the standout for the team this season so far, contributing to all the team's touchdown scores. And the defense has played very well in stretches too. I can only see one victor in this game, especially with the Vikings and their struggles at the moment to score. They have had 2 games and they haven't scored yet, which is not a good look, especially when you're going up against a playoff hopeful team like the Knights. But Alex, I don't know if you have any way convincing me for UL's chances this week.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing you can say about UL is that their defense has been solid. They have only conceded 2 points, or sorry, 10 points in the 2 games that they've played. The run defense in particular really held up. I sort of thought that it would be a much stiffer test against the Panthers than in the run game wise than it was against the Cowboys, with the running backs that they have there in South Dublin, but they were able to put it up to them and shut that down. So I do certainly think that UL have some good strengths on defense. Um, but I think the Knights just seem to be a bit more put together at the minute. They're playing well, while not sort of uh, you know, digging up any trees with their sort of offensive firepower, but they scored 20 against UCD. They only got the one touchdown against the um, the Cork Admirals, but still were able to string some passes together, get some nice drives, and a key and very important thing that the Knights have, that even if they do get dragged into a sort of rock fight by UL, the thing that they have that the Panthers don't have is a excellent kicking game. So even if they do end up getting bogged down and unable to punch the ball in, they can convert kicks from 30, 40 yards with regularity. So I don't foresee a way that even if UL are able to really bog the Knights down like they were the Panthers, I still think the Knights kicking game will allow them to at least score double digits. And I can't see UL putting up multiple scores in the game.
Mhm.
Something that they haven't put up a score at all so far. So look, offensively for the UL, you just got to say that is your goal, is to put up a score. Don't look at the scoreboard and think, right, we need to get a touchdown, an onside kick. Just try and put up a score here to no matter what point the game is, getting on that score sheet is going to be huge. A big boost to the confidence when you do eventually get there, and that can sort of boost your season going forward. There's going to be more winnable games coming down the line for them. They're going to play against they're going to host the Cowboys and get a chance to get revenge for that loss. I think now is the time where you sort of put these minutes in as valuable reps, get some cohesion on the offense, and keep doing what they've been doing defensively, and see can they turn it around before the season runs out.
Predictions for the games. I assume we're both going for a Knights victory then.
Yeah.
Okay, Knights victory. On to Division 1. I know we are a little short on time, so we'll try and get through these games with as much detail as we can. Starting off with the Mammoth Daragh versus Alex game on Saturday between the Rhinos and the Mavs. Repeat, obviously, of the semi-final last year where the Rhinos narrowly won. Of course, the Mavs won the week before as well. So it's been a fixture that I think before the game at semi-final, I think the Rhinos hadn't won before. Am I correct?
But in the recent history, in the post-COVID history, certainly they had always been close ones, but I think we had always just about edged them.
They'd always been one score, and I think that obviously changed with the league fixture when you just put a score on us, and then it went back to the norm with being only one score in between in the semi-final. I'm sure it's still going to be a tight game this week as well. The Rhinos coming off their victory up in the Vale Centre against the Vipers. Obviously, the Mavericks had a very, very impressive win against the Eagles in week 1 in was it Newtown
Hamilton?
Newtown Hamilton. So yeah, this is the toughest one to talk about because we're both very wary about what we can and can't say under penalty of death from our own respective head coaches. But nonetheless, it's always great going up against you guys. It's always great because there's a good plethora of former Pirates there too, which, it's always great to see them guys too. I believe there's a few more now than last year too, which is going to be great to see as well. But yeah, I guess like from the Mavericks point of view, obviously you guys want to get some sort of revenge from the semi-final. From the Rhinos point of view, we obviously have to make sure we continue winning so we can look to get one of those top 2 spots and get a home playoff if we can. Well, obviously making the playoffs and then looking at hopefully getting a home playoff too. So, even though it's early in the season, our third game, your second game, still could have huge ramifications when it comes to seeding at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. Look, I mean, you've got your starting QB back and your starting centre back, of course, for this game, don't you? Right?
Yeah, you don't have to look at my ugly mug snapping the ball anymore. I'm delighted with that.
There we go. So, look, I think you guys had a few missing for that trip up to the Northwest. So, good to see that you're going to be at full strength. We had a couple of injuries, unfortunately, against the Eagles, including Dan Finley, and unfortunately, he's torn his ACL, so he's going to be out for the season. So, Shout out to Dan and his recovery there. Really, you never want to see an injury like that. Also, shout out to Connor Hogan as well from the Eagles side as well. He also suffered a knee injury, that it might probably puts him out for the season as well. Really unfortunate to see, especially in the first game of the season. So look, these things sort of happen. And as McVeigh, the OC chimes in, Daragh has yet to be informed he's still at centre. All right, so there we go. So which A gap do you least like blocking, Daragh?
I don't like any A gap.
Fair. Yeah,
I
look,
think I'm gonna have to come down with a mystery virus now for that game now, if that's the case.
Yeah, well, I'd say injuries play an unfortunate part in everyone's season, but yeah. But look, other than that, we're ready. We're prepped. We've at least had 1 week off in between the games. I think we've got back-to-back games now, the same as yourself. So, but our main focus has obviously been this first one up. And yeah, we're looking forward to getting back out there, reacquainting ourselves with Cheese. They've always been good games, good close games. So we're looking forward to another battle on Saturday.
Was it a quick return against the Eagles next week, isn't it, for you?
Yeah, down to Wexford.
Down to Wexford. All right, very good. Yeah, look, listen, like I said, if we had Rain or Fionn here, maybe we could get a little more from an outsider's point of view, but we can't really do anything on it. Looking forward to having you guys down there. I think because doing 2 trips up to Dundalk in 2 weeks was a bit of a pain on the petrol tank. So I'll be looking forward to welcoming you down for sure. And our first home game as well. We've obviously started with 2 games away from home, so it's good now this week and next week to have 2 games in Castleknock that we can obviously sort of, hopefully keep our home field, have our home field advantage, and obviously keep it as a bit of a, what do they say, fortress? Isn't what they say? Home field's a fortress, so you can't have it. But
and we'll be debuting our new white uniforms, or new away uniforms for the first time from Player Fit. So yeah, looking forward to that as well. They'll reveal the drip. We've plenty of uniform reveals this season. Plenty of nice new uniforms. So yeah,
I blame Chris, Dave, and Green Zone for that with their damn sexy ball. That's their fault.
Absolutely.
Every team became self-conscious now about their jerseys, for sure. Now I hope not the last time, but anytime I hear white jerseys and Castleknock, I just think of UL a couple of years ago in that absolute monsoon that happened. And just destroyed everything. I think Finn would know all about it as well now, because I think he took part in that game, so he knows all about it. So hopefully not, because you don't want to see the jerseys ruined game 1 for sure. But we'll
touch wood, we've been getting a lovely April, so touch wood that continues.
Look, it's a Rhinos thing. The only bad weather day we've had in the last few weeks was the day we had to go up to the Vipers. The day after was a cracker. You got the sun and everything playing. Yeah. But no, the Saturday was the awful day. Well, look, hopefully, I've seen the area reports. It looks okay. Looks like it's going to be a nice warm day. So, if you are heading down to Castleknock, bring the cans. If you have the disposable barbecue, bring the barbecue. Make a day of it. It'll be great crack. On a Saturday as well, no less. On to Sunday's 2 games then. First of all, it is the Wexford Eagles entertaining the Kildare Crusaders down in Gorey. The Eagles get home comforts for the first time this year as well. I know that anytime we've talked about Eagles games this year, we've talked about numbers and that being an issue. So it's good to get the comforts at home. Maybe you get a few more bodies that haven't been able to travel with the team the last few weeks. For the Kildare Crusaders, they'll be looking to bounce back after their defeat at the weekend. If they want to make sure that they are still going to be in the hunt for a playoff position, for sure. But a tough game. I think this one will give us a true idea of Kildare. I think it's going to be a huge one for them, and to see what sort of team they're going to be this year. They had the 2 wins. They've had this loss. Now let's see how they bounce back from this loss. But Alex, your point of view on the game?
Yeah, I think this will be a really interesting one. Very close, as we mentioned earlier. It's gonna it could have a big say in who gets the playoffs at the end of the season. So both sides will really have a big focus on this one. Two contrasting styles as well. The Eagles are traditionally a run heavy side. They're not quite the Eagles of the Kevin Klatt days with the wing T offense, but they still do certainly favour the run over the pass. Whereas the Crusaders, we know, they're similar but the opposite. They can run the ball, obviously with Wello there, but they also like to air it out. So I think those two different styles as well could make for an interesting game. I think this will potentially be a high scoring, close encounter between these two. Um, I think the key for the Crusaders is keep from turning over the ball. Don't turn over the ball. Give yourself all your possessions to put up points. And on the Eagles, it's try and force those turnovers and maybe do a bit of like Cork against the Trojans. Try and get that clock running. Limit the Crusaders' possessions, get some turnovers, and they could definitely come out on top in this one.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, yeah, and like we mentioned with the like I mentioned earlier with the chemistry of Jordan and his wide receivers, they're going to have to build on that there this week. It's also interesting on the Eagles side of offense. Doran Taylor's, Phil has had his first two games at quarterback. Has probably done more damage with his legs than he has with his arm. So he'll look to maybe progress that this year, especially with a receiver like Luke Fitzpatrick there. He'll want to make sure he can try and get him the ball that he can do some damage on this Crusaders defense. But Alex, your prediction for this game?
Oh, this is a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I am gonna say that the Eagles' home advantage shades this one by a touchdown, field goal, something marginal anyway.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be. It depends. With the Eagles' numbers, if they start to have a few too many lads playing Ironman football, with the Crusaders' ability to beat you over the top, I think that could be tough, and especially with Wello as well. If you're playing both sides and you're having to tackle Wello for most of the game, it's going to be tough. Um, yeah, tough one. Yeah, I can't see the Eagles going 0-3 because I think that's going to be tough for them now to make playoffs. Hmm. I'm going to go with the Eagles to shade it. Maybe there's only going to be a score, probably like you mentioned, a field goal in it or something like that. Um, but yeah, I think the Eagles to just shade it, and it will all depend on who's there on the day and who's feeling more up to it. It's a toss of the coin, a flip of the coin. You could ask me again tomorrow, and I'm going to say Crusaders. It's a tough one to pick. The
Yeah,
last one of the weekend,
easily a pick 'em in the betting
yeah,
odds.
yeah. I don't care what money line I'm getting on this. I'm steering away from it because there's no
Yeah, yeah.
team I like more. And the last game of the weekend, because we got to wrap up soon. Because Alex, I'm not seeing your face anymore at this stage almost because it's getting so dark. The Giants are welcoming the Minotaurs to Lime Park. The Giants are 0-2, and with a tough start to the season with two tough defeats against the Vipers and then against the Crusaders. The Minotaurs, of course, 3-0 coming off that win in Kildare against the Crusaders last weekend. I personally am finding it tough to see the Giants winning this game.
Ye-
I think the Minotaurs offense is just too strong at the moment for them. I think that it's just too much of an ask at this stage of the season for the Giants to ask them to go and beat the Minotaurs.
Yeah, I look. They've had 2 weeks to sort of work on their offensive output now since they played the Crusaders. Um, it's probably been the weak part of their game so far. They need to get some more scores in the game. And that is going to be tough against this Minotaurs side. We've seen they've got a fairly stout defense. Now they can be scored again, or against the Eagles. They managed to put up 20 against them, so it's not like they're impervious. So from a Giant side, it really is getting that offense clicking. We know through Tony McCluskey and Jig McCoy that can run the ball. Need to see some development in the passing game there if they're to stand any hope, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And look, there's just if it is the case that they don't win this game, it's not the end of the world like that. I'm not sending out an emergency call, like I said with the Admirals earlier on, that if they lose this game, they've had to, like, yes, you can be disappointed in what happened with the Vipers, but seeing how the Vipers have played this year, maybe not so much. The game against Kildare, they put up a mammoth effort against them with really, really low numbers. This game, yeah, like you said, it's about getting the offense rolling a bit more, get some more yards, get some scores. Defense, just try and limit the Minotaurs as much as you can. There's definitely the little wins you can take in this one, and I don't want to disrespect the Giants that way, because they are going to think themselves that they can go out and win this game, like they rightly should. So,
yeah, look, if you want to be making playoffs at the end of the season as well, these are the you got to be able to pull out results like this. Like it's going to be a tough game. Everyone's probably doubting them, but they're on their home turf. Which I don't. Maybe they have, but I don't think the Minotaurs have ever played there. If
no, I don't think
memory
so.
serves, because the year they
so.
went up,
Yeah.
the Minotaurs would have gone up.
Yeah,
to the Premier League.
and
Yeah, so the Minotaurs
Giants
never
have
played there.
changed home grounds as well over the years too, so they would have played at the back of
Yeah,
the football stadium.
so that's it. They've never played up there in Armagh. They've never had the pleasure of 300 sheep watching you on.
Yeah, it's an experience, lads. It's an experience.
Yeah, so look, it's certainly not beyond the realms of possibility that the Giants pull this one out, and that's sort of the way as you said, that's the mindset they're going to be going into this game with. That we can pull a surprise here, and get an unlikely victory.
It'd be a really good shake up to the season, wouldn't it? Just something that'll just shake up Division 1 a little bit too. So I'm all here for it if they can. But predictions on that game, Jay, are you backing a surprise Giants victory?
Am I bold enough to predict this? What is the weather like? If it's driving wind and rain, there's always a chance. But the Minotaurs can run the ball as well. No, I think the Minotaurs do have the experience and the talent to overcome them. But I think it will be closer than some people will think. That's my bold prediction.
I think a Minotaurs win as well. I'm gonna say by 2 scores in this one for them. I think that they do have enough quality there to do that for sure. But that's all the games. We made to the end. We're only about 10 minutes over. We've done some great work, Alex. We don't even need the Malays anymore. They just hold us back at this stage.
Who?
Exactly. But really, really appreciate you coming on. Always have a great time. You're looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Absolutely.
Well, no doubt we'll have a battle for 4 quarters, and after it, we'll have a hug and a pint afterwards to make it all feel better, and then be in pain on Sunday. So it'll be good. If you are heading to any of the games, let us know. Even send some pictures over to us, or if you have some reports from the game, send it on to us. We always appreciate that. Follow us on our socials at UnderCenterPod on Instagram. That's where you're getting all the latest updates, scores, tables, everything, stats. All you need is there.
Inclusion into my will sometimes.
Exactly. If you give us score predictions in areas that we can't get scores from, you get automatically inserted to Alex Will. Now, you don't get anything, but it's still nice to be involved. So, it's still nice. But if you're watching this on YouTube right now, If you haven't already, please like the video. If you haven't also already, please subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out as we're trying to grow the numbers and obviously get the knowledge of Irish American football out there to the wider audience. I think that's all the housekeeping for now. So I'm not, even before I have the chance to remember anything, I'm just going to wrap it up. Alex, as always, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
And until next week, enjoy the football, and we'll see you soon.
Peace.